Hey guys, it's me, Yaya Diamond. Bless peoples, how you doing? It is a great day, and I'm so very excited to be here. How many times have I said that? Yeah, I've said that a lot of times, but I am still very, very excited to be here. I have an amazing author on the show today, and I'm so very happy that he's here with me. It is just a wonderful thing to have a motivational speaker, someone who's done it, been there, and can teach me all the stuff that he knows. And anyway, I want to welcome Darius to the show. Thank you so much for being with me today.
It is my pleasure, Dr. Diamond. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you. Okay, so let's get down to the nitty gritty. You from Chi Town?
Yes, I am. A lot of memories, a lot of interesting moments. I'm a fan of your mother's, and it's been a lot of years. It's been almost
Oh,
25 years since I've been back.
wow, wow, that is wonderful, and thank you so much. So, I wanted to find out if you could share some pivotal moments from your childhood in Chicago that shaped your entrepreneurial spirit today.
I'll go deep diving. I'm actually now in the bunker where I actually started things at in my parents' closet because I was that kid that said, okay, I'm going to go in the closet and be creative. I was an only child, so I was creative. So I'll deep dive into areas that some people might appreciate where I'm going. As a young person, one of the big things was I had this creative imagination with the GI Joes, the McGilla Gorillas, and all that kind of thing. But somewhere around, I would say, 16, 17 years of age, the streets start calling and you get open to different avenues of things that you want to do. And I think people can read through the lines of what I'm saying. So all of a sudden, you start looking at other avenues of entrepreneurship and where you can make the money at. So that became an area that was interesting. But segue to probably early 20s and then getting caught into some interesting mischief. And at the time, there was a Cook County Sheriff's that was a friend of the family that actually came to my rescue, and that changed the whole perspective. And along with him, there's a teacher that heard that I was very entrepreneurial in my endeavors, and she came out to actually visit. The first time any teacher had ever come to your house to visit. And she came in the house to visit, and it was life altering. So from that point forth, I got a job at First Chicago, which was First National Bank of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Went off on that journey, and ultimately speaking, got off into real estate and so forth. But
Wow.
those two things were very pivotal. Getting caught up into some mischief and having a teacher actually come out and say, "Listen, stop being a knucklehead, stop doing crazy things, stop clowning," and then someone coming to your rescue and saying, "Listen, you're now in handcuffs, and it's time to get realistic because this can go one of two ways. You can either end up in Joliet, or B, you can end up in a box. So take your pick."
Wow. Yeah, that doesn't happen very often.
No.
Teachers really, I mean, especially in this day and age, teachers don't really get involved too much anymore anyway, because they can get in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
But back in the day, that was, yeah, that kind of saved you. That is,
And I actually dedicate my book to most of those teachers that were there because after that teacher came out, I ended up encountering quite a few other teachers that actually realized that I was entrepreneurial, clever, and I guess I was a mixture between what's this guy's name, the Corleone and Einstein. So I was like a little mixture of both. So you can kind of, if you got kids like that, you have to watch them very carefully. And my parents are very
wow.
monitored, but even with that, sometimes you can kind of get past them.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so what is the biggest challenge you faced when you started your career in real estate? And also, I mean, being an entrepreneur, seeing all the things that you could see, banking and then becoming the real estate person, what was that like for you as well?
The hardest part was no money. I mean, that was one of the reasons for the entrepreneurial endeavors. It's like, hey, there's no money, so where are you gonna get it from? And you're looking
I
out here,
know.
you see this money on the street, you're like, okay, now there's money to be made. So now, how do I get the money to go to the next phase? So you figure out, okay, I can do this to get to this. The only thing that people don't understand is there's risk involved, and I talk
Yeah.
about that whole process. For every reward, there's a risk. How much of a risk are you willing to take to get to what you want? So the biggest thing was the first year I made no money because here I've got to turn around and come clean and everything else I'm doing, but I still got to make money. So that was the hardest part.
Mm, mm, mm. I know how you feel. I know how you feel. There's no money. It's like, how you gonna do this? what you gonna do? How you gonna get this done? I mean, because you can't grow a business without help, and you can't
Mm-hmm.
get help without money, and then you can't grow your business without help. I mean, it just keeps going around in
Mm-hmm.
circles.
So I got a little smart now. See, again, it is the entrepreneurial that came out of me. I started reading Town and Country probably about 10 or 12 years old. And I'm looking at all these events they were doing. So I had enough money, set aside so I could go to some of these events. So I actually ended up meeting a girl who was an heiress to a large real estate fortune. And, in dating her, it allowed me to start turning around and investing her money for herself and then making a little ends for myself. So again, you might want to call it being creative financing. I call it being smart, shrewd. You look at an angle and you say, okay, people look at opportunities and they don't see opportunities because they're so busy looking at why I can't do it. My thing is always how you going to do it
Hmm.
and what's the risk involved to get it done.
So, what is something that you've adapted that helped you to actually get over this adversity?
The gorilla strategy.
Mm.
Nothing is impossible. Like I said about earlier about Magilla Gorilla.
Hmm.
I'll give you the story that Walter Cronkite had a situation where, as a newscaster in CBS, uh, during the 70s, I would always see the guerrillas in Vietnam. And I'm like, Magilla Gorilla and the guerrillas in Vietnam, there's something interesting here, right? So I'm looking
Hmm.
at how these things were going on and how the Vietnamese were actually underground doing their thing. So I'm thinking to myself now, if you maintain underground and you've got the United States as being beaten by people that are in rice paddies, there's the only way to go. So I started realizing, I started reading about different ways that guerrilla strategies worked, from the Navy
Right.
SEALs to all the other military strategies. It all comes down to how inept are you at changing, being a chameleon, and so forth. So I started watching the Animal Channel, and I started realizing that adaptability is key. How
Hmm.
can you look at an opportunity and see it differently? And one of the
Hmm.
biggest things that I say to people is, people are so focused on when they're going to work, right? Look at people's faces; they're all looking down. And I
Hmm.
always say to people that want to get in the real estate business, look up. Every one of those windows that you see looking up is owned by somebody. So how did they get there? Okay. But if you're constantly looking down, you can't see that all those windows are owned by somebody. And somebody had to get started somewhere. So somewhere along the line, they were finagling and cutting some type of transaction, wheeling and dealing somewhere to get there.
Mm. Mm. I like that. I mean, I'm always looking up. I'm always looking up
Mm-hmm.
and going, how can I get that?
Mm-hmm.
How can I get, what can I do to get that?
Mm-hmm.
And wow. So, what would be one way? I know you said that was creative. Like you had the girlfriend and she had the real estate, and she got an inheritance on that. But what? Not everybody's going to be dating a girl that was a real estate heiress that you can. I mean, what is it that we could do that you have noticed that would help us, move forward like that?
Here's a simple thing. Outside most people's houses is a $50,000 liability. And folks that are going to hear this are going to be like, he's talking about my car. I want my car. Well, guess what? That $50,000 car, you're setting aside $1,000 a month on the average with insurance. Do you need that car if you can turn around and take that same credibility that you did to get that car, to turn around, save that money up for 1 year to buy the first property, FHA, etc., or own financing? You can go somewhere and buy a property somewhere that somebody's struggling and trying to get through, or somebody's in foreclosure that you can help yourself. Now, most people want to buy that car outside. What I say is you can pay for that car by buying that building and then putting the building as an asset that produces income to buy the car. Work in reverse engineering.
Mm-mm. See, I don't. I sat here one day in my house and I said to myself, I am paying about $24 a day, or probably more, for that car to sit out there
Mm-hmm.
and do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do this. I called the bank and I said, how much are you going to give me off if I pay it off today?
Mm-hmm.
Because I needed the car. I only had one car. Just one. I needed a car, especially where I live. There's really, the transportation around here is terrible. It's just
Mm-hmm.
horrible. And they gave me a deal. I paid it off.
Mm-hmm.
That's like 4 years ago. I still have the same car.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep it up. It's like, okay, got to get an oil change. I mean, I'm not buying another car. I'm not doing it. It's going to drive to the graveyard.
Well, that's the thing that I'm saying to people. I have a bunch of cars that are 2000s, right? When I say 2000,
Mhm.
2001, 2, 3, 4, 2006, I've got 400,000 miles on it. But here's the trick. The thing that I did was you build your credibility up. So if you've got 40 credit cards in your pocket and you don't have anything on those credit cards, you have now 40 credit cards, which the average person's credit line is about $3,000. But you got $120,000. You got some
Mm-hmm.
money to wheel and deal with. So you use the credit as the asset to buy a bigger asset to turn around and produce income. What people don't understand, especially minority folks don't understand, is the bottom line of creating wealth is based upon using debt constructively. We use debt
Yeah.
destructively.
That's something that I am very, very hesitant to do, even though I kind of get the whole picture of it, but I don't really truly understand it. And some stuff that I don't understand, I don't dabble in until I'm completely certain of how to get it done. And, a lot of people's credit has gone bad since COVID because they took the EIDL loan, they took all that stuff
Mm-hmm.
to get through. What
Mm-hmm.
do you do now if you took the EIDL loan, but you can't pay it back because you lost your job, all of the stuff, the economy's going down, everybody's in, but it's not a promissory one, it's the unsecured one because there's the secured and they messed up, and then you have the unsecured. We're talking about unsecured. What do they do to get that credibility back, or is there a way to figure that out?
The unfortunate part about it is bankruptcy becomes the option
Mm-hmm.
because you're either going to have to file it as a Chapter 7 and actually call it a day, and then you've got to wait all these so many months. Basically, they'll give you a secured credit card, the whole 9 yards, or you'll end up in a situation with a Chapter 11, you have to pay it back. The bottom line of it is you have to realize that as we get to a point, let's say past 40, you
Mm-hmm.
don't have the time to play because now you're in the second half of life, right? So
Mm-hmm.
people don't understand that. When you're in your 20s, you can kind of, maybe you can maneuver and play games a little bit. When you're in your 40s, you got to be like, I got to start looking at things a little differently. You can't give money away to friends. You can't be wheeling and dealing, and you can't be partying, and you can't be doing crazy stuff because now you got to look at, okay, I might live to get 70 or 80. I'm going to need an income. Social Security is not guaranteed, as we can see, considering the current administration. Reality check.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. So with people that are struggling and they have setbacks, I mean, I don't necessarily call it a failure. I call it a setback. I mean, I understand, and I've been here, and then I went chapter 7, and then I went back up to here, and then of course the EIDL loan, I did take that, and now I'm like here. I'm like, okay, so can't pay it back. It was unsecured. I didn't want a secured one, but I did unsecured. But I do want to pay it back because I feel like at this age in life, I just want to take that off the books. You know what I mean? I don't want to do another 7. I don't want to do, but there are different ways to actually get around this so that you could pay these people back, but and at the same time be better about yourself. Is there like something that people can actually do, like maybe mentally, maybe psychologically, or even creatively to move forward without moving backwards first?
See, the big thing of it is, and this is a adult show, so I can't use the word I want to use, but it is the F word. You have
Yeah.
to say that I did it, and now I have to accept acknowledgement and accountability.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing of it is people don't want to acknowledge what happened, and so
Right.
therefore they can't say, what's the next move. So psychologically speaking, the first thing of it is acknowledgement. I did it; it went wrong. Why did you do it? And I'll tell you something that's funny. Most of the time, it has to do with people around you. Somebody around you is there and they're needing greater than your needs are, which is funny. And then you find yourself in those positions. The
Mm-hmm.
second thing of it is you try to do things that make no sense necessarily, and then you find yourself in that position. So the number one thing going forward becomes mentally recondition yourself to acknowledge, okay, I'm not going to end up back here again.
Right.
Now start looking at the books. What am I overpaying for? What do I need to get rid of? Who do I need to get rid of?
Ooh.
Okay, because that's another important thing. Who do I need to get rid of? Because somebody in your yard is causing the weeds to continue to grow.
Right.
And most of us are not comfortable enough in letting go. It could be, relatives, it can be the boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever. Bottom line of it is you got to acknowledge that. Now, look at your money. And your money should be just like your heart and your soul. How and where is it going? Stop the bleeding. And you stop the bleeding by writing it down. Where did everything go this week? If you get your paycheck, and by the time you get your paycheck, the paycheck's all gone. Was it overdraft fees? Was it credit card automatic pays? Was it setting out to stop all the auto pays? Number one. Stop all the I gotta watch Netflix. stop all the partying going out, no more Cristal, all these things, you quickly find out where your money's at. And from that point forth, you can start paying the bill and making amends to it. I mean, if you don't want to turn around and go far left and just end it all and completely get it off the record, and you want to pay them back, then you got to start realizing where the money's going.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you 100%. I've done that. It is so pleasing just to talk to someone who understands, and maybe one day we'll have to have you back to talk about how credit can be an asset if you know how to work it. And a lot of people don't. I think that that is the key. They're so scared of it because you get into a deficit and a debt, and you don't know how to get yourself out. It's not as hard as most people think it is to get out. You just have to do a little bit of a creative financing kind of thing, but it is doable. But I wanted to ask you, you're involved with some initiatives and with small startups for women and women-led businesses. Tell me about that.
I got involved with the whole process of women in business, and actually because I was a bachelor and I was trying to be a bachelor that was chasing women at the time. So, so this was an easy way to do it because you're investing in them, and so it
I
works
say,
out.
wait, I have to
Being
stop you
honest.
for a second because you've done the whole real estate, okay, woman who had an inheritance, and then you did the women startup thing, and this because of what is this? Is this like a pattern for you?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm a bachelor, and as a result, it's like, hey, well, let me enjoy myself.
I
So
hear
I got
that.
involved into investing in women businesses because of that very thing, flirtation. And I started realizing that a lot of women did not understand about what they have when it comes down to resources. Okay, here's a situation where they're working these jobs, they're working these situations, they're working these careers, they have all these advanced degrees, and they have credit. But what ends up happening is they end up screwing the credit up either based upon a relationship or based upon trying to hold the family down. So those two things they have to figure out how to navigate appropriately. You have to be able to say no, because that's a positive word. No is not a bad thing. And you have to
Exactly.
also be able to say that I'm not going to get in a relationship that's not going to be able to provide a positive outcome. So I'm not against men that are getting these relationships. The issue of the hour is, can you turn around and guide this woman to something positive where you both can win? Okay.
Hmm.
And so as a result of that, my concept with women in business is that understand what you're doing. Okay, if you don't want the rat race and you don't want to be running around trying to worry about your kids and what they're up to and on and on and on, then figure out what you have as far as your talents, look in your talent toolbox, and figure out, can I work this business and create an avenue or revenue stream to make myself more comfortable? And this is the funny thing. Immigrants come here with just that thing. I know women that are in the massage business. I know a few that are in the doing hair business. They go to people's homes and they'll turn around and do their nails and so forth. They're making more money than you're making on a job. Two or
Yeah.
$300 a spot. And I know some of the African ladies that will braid hair. They're making $1,000 in 8 hours. I mean, people are making that in 1 week. But this is
Hmm.
the reality of immigration. So they realize I have one talent. I'm making use of it. So to any woman that's looking at being in business, what's your talent? What's your toolbox?
Hmm.
Develop that, finesse that, and figure out how to make it work.
I like that. I
Mm-hmm.
like that because this whole thing of working for people is great if that's what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what and some people do. That some people just want to work and they just want to do their job. They want to climb up the corporate ladder
Mm-hmm.
and that's what they want to do. I'm not that kind of person. I'm more, I guess, a lot of people from Chicago are the same way. We're entrepreneurs. We
Mm-hmm.
we go after our goals and our dreams. We've been taught to go after our dreams and our goals, and we become just one of those people that, oh, they work too much or they work a lot, or I've never seen them work for anybody else, and
Mm-hmm.
that's really not true for me.
Mm-hmm.
But being in real estate, doing what you do, and going forward and be okay. So I just have this here. It says here that newest acquisition kingpin. What does that feel like right there?
That was basically saying in no uncertain terms, as I was looking at what I was trying to get done, it was like, you know what? I've got to do a Donald Trump. You've got to bloat yourself before you get to the goal. Okay? And that's what he did. Before he became president, he was busy out bragging, like, I got this, I got this. So I did the same thing. So now it's like, now comes the books, now comes the speaking opportunities, now comes the podcast, and on and on. But I was bloating it first and saying, okay, this is where I'm going to be at. So every single day I could look at it and be like, I didn't have a wall that you say your image wall or your picture
Hmm.
board. My thing
Yeah.
was make the statement and then live up to it.
Oh, I hear that. I hear that. Wow. So I mean, I know you got the books. You got the books. Tell me about your books and what you've written so far, and what is your future goals?
Right now, the first one out is the leadership DNA. So I'm doing, as an author, I've done an anthology in that one where I'm talking about diversity and all the
Hmm.
things you do with that diversity. The second one coming out now is Success, which will be out in May with Success DNA, where I talk about how Success DNA, and I even go into the fact about how this whole immigration thing and how we're looking at that as a negative because it should be looked at as a positive because the world is browning. And America certainly is browning. So it's like folks wake up, we have a new world coming, and
Hmm.
Africa now is going to be the new first world power. Asia is going to be the first world power in South America. So we have to look at that. Um, my next book also talks about mastering the TPS blueprint. So there I talk about triumphing and transforming trauma into triumph, where I talk about how timing, synchronicity, and precision come into play. That everybody tells you to work hard, right? And I've heard this all my life, and I say it very clearly: BS. There's a certain element of luck in everything that you do.
Oh yeah.
Jordan would not have been Jordan without an opportunity of him failing at something. When we look at LeBron James, he would have took that $10 million check when he was 18 versus getting $1 billion check now. I
Hmm.
myself the same thing. You will not get that success by working hard because I got bad news for folks. Our people in this country have worked for 500 years, and guess what? Working hard has not gotten us moved the needle forward to where
Right.
it should be. So, bottom line of it is, it's a luck, it's timing, it's synchronicity, and it's precision. And when I say timing, it's about the moment. Okay. When I talk about synchronicity, it's coming, all things coming together at the same time, and the precision is how smooth and flawlessly it plays, and it all works because sometimes, like now, people are saying, "Well, you know what? This is the worst time in history." No, 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 no. The best thing in the world is to have Mr. Trump in the White House right now, because this is going to make sure that some people are going to recognize, you know what? If you didn't get your blankety blank together back then, you're going to get it together now because change is happening. And whether
Yeah.
you like it or not, it's going to happen.
It's gonna
And at
happen.
the end of the day, the economics of it are going to affect your pocketbook. So now you got to turn around and wake up and say to yourself, you know what? I was lacking. I was slacking. Oh, you can't slack now. No, 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 no.
Wow.
The day and the hours changed.
Oh wow. Well, there's just so many different things that we could talk about, and we don't have time to do that. But people can actually go to your website. What is your website?
It's DariusARoss.com. They'll see my rhino on there, and the rhino is symbolic with the boxing gloves of, when you see a rhino charging, he goes in there with boxing and he's tearing it up. He's fighting. He's not backing down from the lion. So that's it.
Awesome. So we are going to go ahead and put that into the description box wherever you may be watching. And I want to thank you so much, Darius, for being on the show. This has just been such a wonderful thing. We're going to have you back.
Definitely my pleasure. Just let me know.
Definitely. I am just so excited to have you here, first of all, and to understand that people don't realize that this job I do this here was put down so bad. Oh, you can't make money doing this.
There are phenomenal opportunities that people don't really understand. That's what I'm saying right now. There's going to be, in the next 5 or 10 years, more millionaires, more multimillionaires, and more billionaires, and we will see a trillionaires during this 5 or 10 year time period based upon trauma. This trauma has to happen because the system has to get, as they say, culling of the system and culling of the herd. It has to happen.
That's
Whereas
right.
people that were weak will find themselves waking up, and those that were strong will surge forward. So it's a reality check.
It is a reality check. Wow. It's a big one. And it's one that I foresaw coming. And it's a big one. And people who don't want to go through it, too bad. Just too bad. I'm sorry.
Uh huh. Uh huh. Uh huh.
No matter where you are in the world, you're going to go through something. Right now, it's really a tumultuous time for everyone in the world.
Well, I want to say one last quick thing there, just to say this on the note of it all. To all folks that are of color, we need to now appreciate one simple thing that we didn't appreciate. We did not appreciate freedom in its rightful course the way we should have because there are certain things that as a group we didn't do. Now we need to recognize that freedoms are being taken away. So we must now wake up and realize that if we want to turn around and maintain where we are, we have to unite with our brothers throughout the world, no matter where they are, and not realize that, okay, they're immigrants, knowing we're all immigrants. We were brought here as well. So now recognize we need to make sure that those freedoms are not taken away too far, because if they come for them, they're coming for us.
It's so true. Wow. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to
My
have all
pleasure.
that information in the description box so that you guys can go ahead and check out the website and everything. I mean, just you put it in so many words, but it is so much bigger than that. And I want to thank you so very much for being here. The website again is going to be DariusARoss.com. That's DariusARoss.com. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to dare to be different. And until next time, bye guys.
Thank you so much. Take care.
No problem. Thanks. Thank you for watching.